You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Hello guys, and welcome back to The Ugly Truth. Now, we've got a special guest here from Sydney. We've got Robert Talevski, who's flown down from Sydney. Hello Robert, welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about HRV, which is?
Heart rate variability.
That's right, and you may not even know what heart rate variability is. So I'm going to give everyone a quick little rundown, because when I heard about it, I was surprised. So basically, you got your heartbeat that goes dunk, 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 dunk. That's what I think the sound is. And basically, in between each heart rate, there's actually a little space, a gap. And that space can actually vary, or it can be more consistent. Now, the funny thing is, the more it varies, the fitter and healthier you are. Mm-hmm. And we're going to dive in deep now. And I thought, personally, wow, you'd think that a consistent heart rate would be healthier and better. But I was surprised to know the difference. And Rob's going to tell us a bit more about this.
Okay, well, you did quite well there, explaining the basics of heart rate variability, and I'll try and elaborate on that.
Thank you.
Essentially, if your heart rate is 60 beats per minute, you would think that obviously there's one beat per second,
yep.
Right? Now, the reality is that it doesn't happen each second. One heartbeat, next 1 second, another heartbeat. It actually varies. It's more like 0.9 or 1.1 or 1.2, and then that averages out to 60. Mm-hmm. So the number or the variability of those beats, the number of times it varies, or the more it varies, the higher the actual number, which is the HRV.
Yes. Okay. Now, just a quick one, just so people know why we're talking about this. HRV is actually very important, because you might be sitting there going, okay, big deal, who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
However, what's really important, I mean, if your HRV, your heart rate variability, goes down to zero, what happens?
Well, never happens.
But if it did, you'd be dead, correct?
Possibly, but I don't think we've measured that of dead people, but I guess it would be.
Dead people got no variability. They got no heart rate at all. Okay, fair enough.
They could have a heart rate, but variability will be probably similar.
But as it goes down, it's pretty bad, isn't it?
Well, it just shows, the less variability shows that your autonomous nervous system or your body is actually experiencing a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. So if it's all like a metronome, which is going back to the 60-second thing, mm-hmm. if it's right on each second, that means the variability is low. Therefore, that translates into your body is actually under a lot of stress.
Yep.
Whether it could have been physical stress that you're under, or both, emotional and physical.
Yep. And the thing is, I mean, you may not even know you got stress, because a lot of times there was a big thing in the 80s and 90s, get rid of your stress, right? And the thing is, how do you know if you're stressed or not?
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people don't know they're stressed, but this is the first time we've actually got something measurable that we can find out if we're stressed or not.
Exactly. The HRV has been a measure that's being used in hospitals. The machines to measure that would have cost quite a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Now we have the ability to purchase a sensor for less than $100, mm-hmm. and that's accurate enough to actually measure the HRV.
That's awesome. Yes.
And so anybody could do it. And I do it every morning, and the people that I train, I get them to measure it every morning, mm-hmm. and then there's an app for that, obviously, mm-hmm. and so then I can track their daily variability.
Yep.
If it goes up or down. So we get a trend, a week or 2 or 3.
Yep.
I see the trend, whether it's going up or whether it's going down, mm-hmm. and that will translate into the stresses in their life.
So is it better to have a higher HRV then?
Well, it's not the question of whether it's better. The question is, where is it at? And depending on what you're doing, if you're an athlete, and you got a coach and they're training you, and you're doing training every day, and you without the HRV, you kind of perceive the exertions that you go through, and whether you feel tired, you wake up, whether you feel good or bad, and then you decide whether to do more training or have a day off or go really hard or whatever. This is an actually objective measure.
Yeah. So basically, what I've heard is a lot of really high level athletes use HRV to know if they should train or not. Correct?
Because the coaches would be using HRV, and then obviously that's where it's predominantly. Well, the coaches, now every athlete has a coach. Serious athlete has a coach,
totally.
And then the coaches are using that objective measure to actually get a non-biased sort of
to know if you recovered or not. Is that right?
Yeah.
So overtraining's been a problem. A lot of people didn't realise that overtraining.
Right.
Is that right?
Exactly right. Overtraining is a big problem, and relying on just your perception of whether you're tired today or not is not really. It's subjective, and you could be wrong.
Yep.
So therefore, if you end up overtraining, then as an athlete, you kind of could get injured.
Yes.
Right.
And injuries are the biggest challenge.
When you get injured, then you have to stop what you're doing, and then you could be back. Could set you back 2 or 3 or 4 or weeks or longer.
Oh, look, someone going for the Olympics, that could just wreck their whole bid for the Olympics, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Completely.
So this measure is an objective measure. So there's no just perception, not your own perception. It is actual objective measure, and the coaches use that to say, hey, I think you've done too much, have a day off. And then they measure the actual, the next day, have a day off, and then they measure the HRV the next day, and then you see where it's gone.
What's an optimal HRV level? HRV, not HIV. What's an optimal HRV level to be at? Because it's in numbers, isn't it? Is that how you measure it?
Yes, it is. It's safe. There isn't any optimum as far as I'm aware.
But you want to try to get it high.
Oh yeah.
Correct?
Well, yeah. The high.
Was it between 1 and 10? Like what's it measured between?
It's a measure between, say, example, 40 to 90 or 100.
Yep. Yours is extremely high, isn't it?
Well, it has been quite high.
Yours off the charts.
Was when I was doing a lot of training, and I was measuring it, and I was doing long miles, and I felt good, and I was looking at the HRV and HRV numbers,
it.
and it's I feel good.
What numbers were you seeing?
Well, 80, 85, 88 or something like that,
which is pretty huge.
But it kind of says that I'm not training enough, really, because if they're that high and I have a particular goal or an event to go to, and that event is further away, then
you want to train hard.
You want to train hard.
HRV.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it just tells you, hey, you have the capability to train a lot harder this morning. Okay, so go for a longer ride, go harder, whatever. Right. So first, you're supposed to measure it when as soon as you get up.
So as soon as you wake up.
Then it shows you
in the same position too.
Before
it's the same.
you do anything before you eat, just in bed.
Just get up. So as long as you do it the same every day. So you're sitting down, you put it on, and then you get your app. It takes about 2.5 minutes.
So how do you measure your HRV? How can people measure it?
Okay, well, you've seen me measure it in the past.
Yes, I know, but I don't think our viewers would know.
Okay, well, Rob,
sure, I've got the sensor here.
So we need to see this crazy contraption.
It's not that crazy.
That's too crazy for me. I can't handle it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
put that across
you
the
strap
chest.
that
this is the strap
on your chest, do you?
So let's just do it now.
Yeah, so I can't wait till they bring out a ring or a bracelet where you can do it.
This is what it looks like, but it's supposed to be on your bare chest.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Yeah. And what is that linked up to? Is that linked up to your phone?
Yep, iPhone.
Okay, great.
My iPhone in this instance.
Yeah, to an app.
There's an app. Yep.
Specific app that will give you.
There's lots of apps.
So do you put it on and you wait 2 minutes, or
no? You put it on and start your app. And then it connects pretty much or
straight away.
But then it gives you a 2-minute average, doesn't it?
Then you click on start, and then you hang around for 2.5 minutes, and you can do sort of guided breathing if you wanted to.
Wouldn't that change it though? Because if you go to guided breathing, it will change your HRV. It will make it higher.
As long as you're doing it consistently, it's not an issue.
Oh, right.
same thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's because I notice when I do consistent breathing, my HRV goes up.
Yep, exactly.
That's good.
Because I've been trying to get my HRV up because I thought it was quite low, and I've been trying to do lots of stuff. So I went on the internet, did a bit of searching, and I asked a few questions here because HRV measures your stress, which also measures your inflammation.
Well, yeah, it can by extension.
Because if you've got inflammation, that reduces your HRV.
Essentially, it measures your parasympathetic and sympathetic tone.
Yes.
So your autonomous nervous system. Okay. So the sympathetic nervous system is
tell us the difference. Yes.
Is really the what gets engaged when you're under stress.
The sympathetic.
Yes.
And the parasympathetic is the relaxation one.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fight or flight. So if you're a caveman and you see a tiger, the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, adrenaline kicks in, and you're like, wow,
the variability
shit.
goes down pretty quickly.
Yes. When people are under stress,
Oh.
variability goes straight down.
Right. So if you're measuring your variability and it's low all the time, even though you're not doing any strenuous exercise or you're not under emotional stress, mental stress, then it could be that you are actually suffering from past sort of traumas and you're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? And then, so your life is like that. So you don't have anything compared to, and you think that you're not under stress.
Yes.
But your body is actually under stress.
Yes. So a lot of people don't realise under stress, could do a HRV and find out they are.
That's right.
Because I think I am, because my HRV was like, when I tested it was 49.
Wow, that's quite
Right?
low.
Yeah, that's quite low.
That's quite low. And I know as you get older, it gets lower.
But you
know what I
see,
mean?
if you were measuring your HRV while you're doing exercise, you will see that it goes lower than that.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
But we're talking about the resting
That's
heart
right.
rate.
Yeah, as soon as
the
you
resting
wake up,
HRV.
you think
so
you're
that measures
good.
that, when you wake up, you're rested, and you should be then have the highest.
That's right, absolutely.
Right. So if you've woken up and you should be rested, but it's low, it's just telling you that you're actually not rested.
Or you had a shit sleep, or you had stress and stuff like that.
Okay.
So not sleeping properly is another stressor.
Yes, totally.
Gotcha.
So that gives you an objective measure that you're not really sleeping properly for whatever reason.
Yes.
Or you're not generally have a deep enough sleep. And that could be because of your sympathetic nervous system is actually hyperactivated for an extended period. You could have had that for years or decades. Some people have that.
But I've heard that high intensity training can actually improve your HRV.
Yeah, look, exercise will improve your HRV. I'm not sure about the high intensity training, but generally, if you are attempting to get fitter, right, you should be following the proper procedures. Like if you've never done any exercise, or but if you've had a sedentary life for the last few years or maybe longer,
you don't want to go in there and
you don't want to start
do 3 hours of weights straight away.
Exactly right.
You've got to
Weights
ease yourself
or whatever
into
it is, or
it.
bike riding or running,
Totally,
right?
yeah.
So you want to get into it very easily, so that you're building up your aerobic system and cardiovascular system, and then it will improve.
Yeah. What I've been doing is I started meditation.
Yeah, meditation will improve that because that's dealing with your unconscious mind, right?
Yep.
So it's a mind strengthening.
Yeah. The other thing I read is really hot baths, because apparently Japanese, when they come home, they have a super hot bath, and when you go in a super hot bath, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of stuff. Essentially, what you're talking about is how to stimulate the vagus nerve, in essence.
Yes.
So the breathing. When you breathe deeply,
the diaphragm,
guided breathing. So your diaphragm moves up and down the vagus nerve.
Explain the vagus nerve to people, because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Okay, well, the vagus nerve is called the 10th cranial nerve, which essentially comes from your brain and moves. There's different branches to it. So obviously there'll be a branch that goes into your face and your throat. So your voice is affected by that. So there's another branch that goes into your heart and lungs.
So this is separate to your spine, obviously.
Yeah,
because you've got your spinal cord and you've got the vagus nerve.
Spinal cord
separate.
is not connected.
Yep.
It actually goes to your back of your brain.
How did you find out about the vagus nerve?
Well, I came across something in a forum that online that talk about emotional things.
Right.
There's a particular person talking about having issues when he was talking to girls, for example. He had some reactions in that. So somebody said, "Oh, you should look at this." Like the therapy was called somatic experiencing. And then so I found it interesting. So I looked into that, and then I got some books on it, and found the scientist that had been working on studying the vagus nerve for like 40 years.
The vagus nerve's amazing. I mean, it connects straight to your gut, doesn't it?
Well, there's two different branches, but there's the older type branch that goes directly, the subdiaphragmatic it's called, the dorsal sort of vagus goes below your diaphragm.
Yep.
And then the other side.
So vagus nerve and stress, how do those two things correlate?
Well, the vagus nerve actually is the nerve that is your autonomous nervous system.
Oh, so that's your autonomous nervous system.
It runs your autonomous nervous system. The vagus nerve is essentially the autonomous nervous system.
Oh, really? Okay, wow. So separate to the spinal cord, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I guess because the vagus nerve, I've heard that you can stimulate it and you can do things to your vagus nerve to release stress and make it more
exactly
comfortable.
Right. So the vagus nerve, vagus nerve controls your heart, your breathing, okay, your voice, your facial expressions, okay. So
so when people have tics, sometimes you talk to people and they've got like tics and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that are they under stress or they're not, or they've got the vagus nerve something going on there?
That is obviously a symptom of something that's been there for a long time.
Like an emotional
thing?
A stress, yeah.
Stress that's been there for extended period, and normally most people would be able to control that. However, if that
it's unconscious, a lot of tics, aren't they?
If that person has had that for a long time and it's not treated, right, then it turns into that. Into tics.
Oh, really?
And other things. So essentially, if that person was to measure their heart rate variability, I would bet that their HRV is extremely is low consistently, because their
so they've got an unconscious problem there they need to fix.
Exactly.
Haven't they? Now,
it's a symptom.
Is stuttering something similar? I'm just curious.
Not sure. Actually.
Yeah, because I thought tics, stuttering, because it's got to do with the vagus nerve, doesn't it? To speech.
Yeah, I would guess that's it as well.
Yep. So how do we get control of our vagus nerve? What do we need to do to sort of keep it cool and relaxed?
Well, okay, that's the subject of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and what the subject is. I mentioned the scientists who've been studying that for 40 years, the vagus nerve. Now, everyone understands the autonomous nervous system is made up of sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Yes.
Right. So, however, that's the generalized sort of view, and not much studies have been done on it because they just felt that they understood how the autonomous nervous system worked, and there's the sympathetic and parasympathetic, and everyone knows that sympathetic is when you're under attack, you either fight or flight. That's the mechanism, right? So you either fight or run away, right? And the parasympathetic is the one, the calming, that one that moderates the sympathetic, right? So that's essentially the basic understanding of the medical industry and pretty much everyone that looks into it.
And the HRV measures your sympathetic.
Exactly.
So it measures your vagus nerve, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. So that's why they're
this
totally
scientist,
connected.
What he discovered that is different is that he has said that, that's the way it is, this sympathetic, parasympathetic. However, it's hierarchical, which means that it happens in stages. Okay, and so there's 3 stages. So let's just talk about the current stage that all of us are in, which is the top level stage, which is a mammalian safe zone. Okay, so when mammals, humans, are safe,
song.
And what's that?
You and I, baby, are nothing but mammals. Anyway, because we're mammals,
true,
yes,
exactly.
True, we're mammals.
Right,
but
so,
it's funny calling us mammals, even though we are.
Exactly right. So we're mammals, right? And the way we communicate, we need to be safe in order to communicate. So now, our expressions, in terms of our facial expressions and the tonality of our voice and timbre and all that, prose, communicates to you which state I'm in. Okay, so I'm talking
So you
now.
can come across, obviously, different ways depending
right.
on your
So if you're
tonality in your voice.
That's exactly right. I mean, if I started screaming, you would automatically right.
Get agitated.
What happens is that you get agitated, but that agitation is no longer the mammalian. We're going down the next level, which is the reptilian
brain.
Right.
Okay, so the reptilian brain, pretty much all this is offline. Okay, your facial expressions become kind of blank in essence, and the other thing that happens is that you don't actually have a choice of this,
because
it's automatic.
The reptilian brain is your brain stem.
That's exactly right.
And it's automatic.
So it's automatic. So when you hear another mammal in distress, the autonomous nervous system you don't have it bypasses what you're doing right now.
So is that why people, when they're under very strong emotions like anger, they can't think straight?
They can't think straight,
at all.
And they say that they actually lose IQ by 10 or 15 points.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And what that means is that then they make bad decisions.
Yeah.
So when you see like MMA fighters and they're in the ring and then they'll piss the other person off.
Exactly right.
And you're thinking, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So they're doing that to get them angry. And I'm thinking, well, they're going to get them angry, aren't they going to get smashed? But no, they're going to make mistakes.
They're going to get
because
angry,
they're not cool.
and they would trigger the reptilian part.
Yep.
The reptilian part, it's
not good at strategy.
But they switches off their brain. They're literally
switches off their brain.
MRI studies.
So that's
switches off your brain, and they make the wrong decision. So they don't move the same way.
Yeah, so you got Mayweather and McGregor at the moment, and there's a lot of a lot of stuff happening, and they're getting together. And McGregor had this suit made up, right? This nice pinstripe suit. Now Mayweather, he was all very casual in his whatever, and on the suit there's a nice little pattern, and when you look closer, it said "fuck you, fuck you," right?
That's hilarious.
Subliminally giving it having a go.
Is that like in baseball they like put people off as well?
Yeah,
and they're like,
or even in football, they swear at people and try to get them angry.
The important thing there is that,
like in soccer,
when that happens, that takes that person from the mammalian into the reptilian,
and by that they make mistakes. That's why in sports it's so big. Wow,
make mistakes. And they make bad decisions.
I never got that until now. Thank you for explaining it, because I thought, why do you want to make your opponent angry? They're going to punch you in the face.
They make bad decisions.
Yes, but they make bad decisions, and that's why.
So if you're calm, you have access to you have access to
more resources.
Your left brain, right brain, whatever. Everything. You have access to everything.
But they got access.
When you're not, I guess, focused and you're angry, you sort of get that tunnel vision.
Yep.
And
that's what happens.
Accesses your mammalian brain.
Your reptilian brain.
Reptilian brain,
yes,
sorry.
Total tunnel vision. Because when I was doing Krav Maga, which is an Israeli form of self-defense, and they teach you that when you're in a stressful situation, you need to keep moving your head around, because you can't see. You've got that peripheral vision when you're under stress, because you're in. So we did a lot of rehearsing to be in that state and still have some resources. And he was saying, look, you got to pretend you're like this, and you got to move around so you can see if you've got any attackers on the side.
Wow.
Because you can't see anyone on the side when you're angry or stressed or scared. You get tunnel vision.
So look, it fits in with pretty much anything once you think about
that's pretty amazing. That's an amazing connection.
It really is an amazing connection. It
wow.
Is.
So measuring your HRV, that would be quite a good tool for coaches to obviously tweak. It is an objective measure to get it up.
Being objective is so amazing, because I always wanted to reduce stress, but I didn't know how, because they'd say, get rid of your stress. And now with HRV, you can actually see exactly where you're at, so you can progress.
Exactly, on that subject, what you're talking about is strengthening your mind.
Yes.
So what you're talking about is the ability to moderate the sympathetic activation. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you feel that the sympathetic nervous system gets out of whack or you're triggered by certain things or individuals, right? That's just telling you that it's not really healthy for you.
It's not at all.
And it brings us on the subject of stoicism, which we'll talk about.
Which I want to talk about with you tomorrow. But okay, triggered. Let's talk about triggered because that's the big word.
Triggered is one of the buzzwords.
That's a buzzword at the moment.
But it's actually right on.
Yeah. So at the moment, being triggered and having a safe zone is very big. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, "Oh my God, I got triggered." Now, what's going on there? Why are people getting triggered so much?
Christina, what she feels is the definition.
I
of
think
trigger.
if someone gets triggered, it sets them off to a certain attachment they've got to an emotion related to a certain word. So if you say something that they don't like or they don't want you to say and they just can't control it, then they just get really upset and overwhelmed.
Right.
Look,
getting upset and overwhelmed essentially
is
the
reptilian brain. Yeah.
Right. And it just shows you that if you see people who are doing that or that behavior,
get out of their way.
Yes, it is. But essentially, they then are not very smart for starters. Okay.
Well, okay.
And if you are
they're not very smart while they're triggered. Let's get that clear.
While they're triggered, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, they're getting triggered because it's unconscious. It's not a conscious decision.
Exactly right.
They don't say, I'm going to go get triggered by this word. No, they don't want to. So we're not having a go at people that are triggered.
Shows, not at all. It just shows that their ability to moderate themselves is not very strong.
Exactly, because words, I mean, you know, the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, that's a pretty cool saying. There's a lot of old sayings that actually make a lot of sense. So I think kids in school and everywhere else should start saying that again because it's important. Because we said that all the time in primary school.
Well, there's a difference between.
But you can say all that, but however, that's not going to help you strengthen your mind.
And if you're being bullied and harassed by a group of people who are constantly saying things to upset you.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Then
look, so tomorrow we're going to get on stoicism.
Yep.
You know, and our next thing, and that's going to go a long way to explain all this, which is great. But because we're going to do a deep dive in stoicism, we'll save that for tomorrow because it's very exciting. And so we're going to go back onto the vagus nerve.
Yes.
Right? And triggered, so that's another thing that people have got an unconscious stress with something, a connection. Because the thing is, I suppose, you've got your mammalian brain, and then you've got the brain still underneath.
Yeah,
right?
Let me just continue on that.
Okay,
so
let's go.
Mammalian brain, that's where, as humans, we're most optimum at, right? Yeah. So we're the most creative.
What at the neocortex?
Yeah, neocortex is online. Yep. You have the full capability.
Yep.
Being in a safe environment. So your body perceives that you're safe, you're in a safe environment, you have a conversation, you have a debate, everything flows. You think about something.
You don't get upset about the debate because you're in a safe place. It's all good.
Right. So that's where, and we're most creative.
Of course.
Right. So you got a problem. You're in a safe environment. You're breathing correctly, and then you're able to come up with solutions to that problem. As soon as you go down to the next level, that is a survival mode.
Yeah, right? That's like a
brute. It's like a brute.
Like someone punching on a keyboard. You're not going to solve the problem by doing that.
So your intelligence is hampered in that zone.
Yes.
So you're good at running away, fighting. That's pretty much it, right?
That's right. So there's not a lot of intelligence going on there. Yep.
So that is so we're under attack, and that gets automatically engaged. You have no choice on that. And you look at the threat and you run away or fight.
Yep.
Okay.
So in our modern society.
And then below that.
Go below that quick.
So if you run away, if you can run away, you run away.
Yep.
Right. If you feel that you can overcome this particular obstacle, then you do it. You fight. And however, if your system unconsciously determines that you are about to die, okay, then we're going into the more ancient system.
Yep.
Which this scientist studied.
What was the ancient system?
Well,
I thought reptilian was it.
Nah, you already know it. But this is what happens. animals, they feign death. Their autonomous nervous system goes
Oh, yes,
up.
they freeze.
They faint.
Yes.
Humans do as well, right? So they faint, either faint. Okay?
Wow, of course, pretending to be dead.
And that is an adaptive, evolutionary part of us.
Oh, so when people faint, it's their ancient brain pretending to be dead. It's a bit like when a lizard pretends it's
Exactly
dead.
right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Possum, whatever.
Or possum, whatever. Yes. So, okay.
Well, it's every mammals, ancient, lots of animals, as far as I'm aware, pretty much.
Lots of animals use that.
All animals have that.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I've
And some
fainted
of
in
the-
stressful situations before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your
Yes.
really ancient system. That's
Yes,
below the
okay.
reptilian.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Now,
so that's there to keep you safe,
that's not
isn't
just
it?
a faint. There's also you lose your ability to you
Control your-
defecate and kill
Okay.
yourself.
So okay.
Wow.
So
That's,
okay.
that's part of the old ancient system.
Okay.
my
So
God.
I mean,
That's what they do.
But people have fainted and not done that.
What do you mean?
Fainted without shitting themselves.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I didn't say that's
For example,
that
me.
comes together.
Thank you. I wanted to say that.
Okay. So
What about back
Yeah.
in the old days, 1700s?
okay,
Right, women used to faint a lot in those days
sure.
because it's more socially acceptable. Is that why, or because?
sure about it.
Yeah, that just
I haven't really thought about that, but
Yeah, I'm just
But
curious.
essentially-
My brain's always jumping one step ahead.
well, we won't talk about the male and female differences just yet. Maybe that's another podcast.
Yeah, no, we won't.
But I don't know the answer to that. But essentially, if your autonomous nervous system perceives
So when someone
it's
hears
not a-
really bad news, and then
And
they
faints.
faint, that's that kicking in.
they don't make a choice. Do you?
No, you don't choose to faint.
Exactly right.
You're gone.
So that's
That's
part
it,
of that.
totally.
So that is the what the scientist. His name's Stephen Porges, by the way.
Stephen Porges. Okay.
PhD.
What book did he write about this? What was it called?
The Polyvagal Theory.
The Polyvagal Theory. Awesome. Okay.
So you can look it up
Fantastic.
on
Great.
Amazon.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, so the thing about what he's discovered is that it's hierarchical.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And now you can have the reptilian be engaged to a small extent. It's not like either or.
not yes or no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So as you get angrier, you got more reptilian brain, but you still got a bit of thoughts, but your IQ slowly drops.
Right. So
Yep.
when I say that either it's not either or, it could be the reptilian activated. We're talking about the sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, so we're
and
talking
the
about
HRV.
it's like not black or white, it's grey. So,
Yeah.
for example, I saw a TED talk where the scientists put this guy on a HRV monitor,
Oh, yeah.
and he was asking maths questions, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was answering them, and then what he did, he put him under stress.
Yeah.
And you saw his HRV go right down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was asking maths questions, simple questions. All he had to do was go 2 + 2, 3, add 3 numbers,
Oh, yeah.
and he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because he was under stress.
Because he's under stress,
It's
and,
tough,
and part of the stress obviously was being on stage in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, because just by being on stage, his HRV went down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, then he asked him, put him under a little bit of stress, and pushed him a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just destroyed his brain, and he couldn't do it.
It's
Wow.
look, it's a big deal.
It was amazing
It really
that
is.
his effectiveness. So, if we can keep our cool and calm, we can actually be more effective
Well,
people.
exactly right. That's the subject of
And that can raise
strengthening
our
your mind.
HRV, yeah.
Yep. So, we're talking about fear before,
Yeah.
and how fear puts you in the fight or flight mode and reduce your IQ.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, these days, every time we turn on the news,
yeah.
there's, a terrorist doing this, there's this
Absolutely.
happening, a
Somebody's
bombing,
being
and
stabbed
oh
and
no,
something
North
being
Korea have
killed.
got nuclear weapons, and this is going to happen over here, and blah, 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 and Trump's
There's a lot of-
going to destroy the
yeah,
world.
there's a lot of media hype
That's
to
that's
scare
the
everyone,
subject of
isn't
triggering.
Yeah, so television, I
Being
mean,
triggered.
we haven't had a TV for about three and a half years now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I didn't watch TV before
we
then
didn't,
anyway.
we didn't watch TV anyway, but what I'm
So-
saying is we had a TV, and so every now and again you'd watch a little bit, but very rare. But now we're watching zero.
Trust me, I never watched TV.
Good. Okay, fine. I've watched a little
You
bit.
can ask anyone who knows me.
Okay, I've watched a little bit.
Don't watch the news.
But
and
anyway,
don't watch ads.
no news, no ads.
No.
And I find we went and visited a friend in Melbourne, remember, and we put the TV on,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was quite assaulting.
Man, it gave me a headache.
Like, because we're not used to
So
it. It was
bad.
like ad after
Yeah,
ad,
the ads,
and
the ads,
and what's coming up next is like, whoa.
Well, the ads are actually quite interesting because you would think that they don't affect you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't have the sound on, just the visual, the constant changes.
It's like
It's
I'm
very
having a
changing.
seizure.
Constant changes
yeah, it's
actually
like so many bright
affects
lights
your unconscious
being
system.
flashed at
Yes.
me. Yeah.
And you're not really aware of it.
And how does it affect your unconscious? Puts you under stress.
Well, because it's constantly changing, and you're not really, you're consciously not aware of it. And if we were to put a HRV monitor on an individual and put just the ads on there, maybe with the with the sound on and just the ads, right? You would get a reaction, even if it's just a peripheral, so in a peripheral view.
Wow. Okay, so you could be cooking dinner in your kitchen, and preferably that's putting stress on
Well,
you.
yeah, if it's you know,
And
in
the
your
news
peripheral
is
vision,
even worse.
and,
I mean,
well, the news is
it's
In
pretty
the
bad.
background,
And I'm saying don't
So
bury
that's-
your head in the
that's-
sand. I mean, it's good to know what's going on.
That's-
but the
Oh, yes,
format
absolutely.
of the news on TV is pretty confronting.
I think you've got to do your own research these days. There's a lot of media hype out there. You've really got to sort of get good, credible sources and get down to what's really happening in the world and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, reminds me of a quote that I read a while back that talked about, I think it was someone like Churchill or some leader like that.
Yes, yep.
And it said, to do with newspapers, they said if you read newspapers, if you don't read newspapers, you're uninformed.
Yep.
If you read newspapers, you're misinformed.
That's right. Exactly.
That's how I...
Exactly.
And there's so
And
much
that-
fake
that-
news
that's
out there
brilliant.
these
That's
days.
brilliant.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean,
you know, you got to do, if you're interested in something, don't take it from what's given.
No.
You actually search
you
for
need
yourself.
to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Totally.
So give us an example of some credible news source that people could find out.
Well, you know, there's
Now,
no
what's
one
happening?
credible
Okay,
news
look,
source.
I-
The thing is that you should be, if you want to know a bigger picture of that subject, you should attempt to get the other side.
I think,
whether
yes.
that's the MSM, which is considered credible, or other news outlets that are not considered credible.
Right.
Yeah, so look,
So
I mean,
you need to get
and there's
news
a
to be
big
critical.
fight over what's credible, what's not as well.
Exactly.
You know what I
So
mean? Everyone
you know,
said,
fake news and
like
this
everyone
and
said fake news. So Donald Trump said everyone's fake news against me. Then Clinton said no, they use fake news against me, right? I mean, recently Hillary Clinton, she said, and that was part of the thing, it was taken a little bit out of context, but Macedonian teenagers in Kumanovo in Macedonia, they made her lose the election because they were doing fake news about Republicans because they were making money out of the clickbait. Now, I'm sure you can't get a bunch of teenagers to change the election in the US.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, I've got an
And now
example
it's Russian
of
hackers.
something that you could look at. WikiLeaks.
With Macedonian
You
teenagers.
could look at...
Okay. Well, WikiLeaks has got I suppose, they've got a track record of not doing anything fake ever.
So
Well, you know,
that's a
those
credible
emails
source.
that received are verifiable.
Okay, yes. So you know, there's a lot of different places you can go. You know what I mean? And I guess, but WikiLeaks is not going to give you, may not give you the information of what you're looking for because it only selects certain things that they do. That's the thing. So I enjoy reading a lot of books.
Yep.
And I'd rather read books than listen to news and things like that. But also, I like listen to podcasts. And what I do is, if I find someone that I like and what they've said has been backed up and it's true, then I suppose once they've built the credibility, I'll go in there and listen to them and trust them until I can't. You know what I mean? Because you can't keep questioning everyone all the time.
No, of course
But you
not.
can't just accept anyone's view straight away either. You got to get a.
You've got to do your homework. Yeah.
They got to prove themselves to you. And I think media is going more like that, where it's the source that matters on how you know it's fake or not. Because these days, I mean, they can change someone's voice and someone's video.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you know what's true and what's not true? They can do a video of you and make you say something completely different. And unless you're an expert in it, you're not going to know the difference. So it's getting a lot harder. We've got so much more information. It's harder to know what's true, what's not.
Information overload.
It's actually, information used to be such a resource and such a rarity that, you know, only certain people knew how to read, and they were part of the clergy usually, or of sort of upper class, of the people that could read and write, and they used to hoard their information and not really share it. But now we've got information is free, and now what's happened, we've got the opposite problem. Before we had not enough information, now we've got too much, and now it's a matter of filtering it, and the information is growing. I mean, the amount of information is overload. It's growing at an exponential rate. You think about how many hours of YouTube video there's put on every day, and podcasts and blogs and scientific studies. I mean, there's more scientific studies done now in 1 year than there used to be for 10 years ago. because there's so much more people doing it. There's AI that's starting to do a lot of scientific stuff. Watson is doing it. It's amazing. It's information overload. And I think in the future, it's a matter of how do you filter the information and get the information you need. But
that comes down to critical thinking, doesn't it?
Yes, but the challenge is there's also with Google and Facebook the whole bubble scenario.
What's the bubble scenario?
Tell us about the bubble scenario, Rob. Well, do you know what it is? So basically what happens is...
You mean when Google is the main search engine?
No, not that. No, so in your Facebook feed, Facebook serves you things that you like.
Oh, yeah,
right? And from like-minded people. And so you only get one opinion. So your view of the world is like, everyone agrees with me, right? But someone opposite's got the opposite view, and the problem is you live in a bubble and don't see the differences and the different opinions. Now, I'm fortunate. I've got a lot of diverse friends, so I get a lot of opposite opinions, which is pretty cool. Actually, most of the things on my Facebook are opposite to what I believe anyway, which is good though, because it's interesting. But a lot of people get stuck in that bubble where they're only getting fed what they like and what they believe in, and reinforces what they like and what they believe in, and it doesn't give you an opportunity for critical thinking or thinking outside the square. Because I think it's very healthy and important to think the opposite of what you think as well, to have a look at that side. Critical thinking, talk us about that.
Well, I see that critical thinking is not something that's taught, not something that's rewarded.
No.
So it creates, in classrooms, you don't want every student to be constantly asking questions about the teacher or challenging them.
No, the teacher's the authority, and the students have to listen. Otherwise, it'd be bedlam. Yeah, you've got to have a balance there. You can't ask too many.
It's kind of the structure of the education system is kind of built around that.
Yeah, because back in the old days, Socrates, the way he taught things was very different. He used to get people to think, and he had a very small group of students, and really get them to improve their thinking, where in our modern society, in our schooling system, you're not really taught to think, you're taught to memorise and regurgitate. And you get rewarded for that. People with the highest scores are the people that can memorise as many facts they can and regurgitate them. And that's in a lot of stuff. I mean, I did Maths 1 and 2, and you had to really do a lot of thinking there. That's the fact of it.
Yeah, well, the education system, is... structured around a particular end result, and in many ways that is to bring out a particular group of people that are relevant to the industry or relevant to
the society to help society tick. Right, because you need plumbers, you need engineers, you need doctors, you need lawyers.
That's the way it is, and to be different from that, you are kind of removing yourself from that. So there's nothing wrong with being different from that. And, a lot of extremely successful people
broke the mold.
Go to university and then break out, don't finish or skip the whole thing, and then end up being huge.
A lot of entrepreneurs,
technologists,
artists,
Steve Jobs, for example, one example, and pretty much lots of technological people
heaps.
That.
It's amazing how many mavericks and people that changed the landscape didn't go through the formal schooling.
Yeah, because then their thinking is structured in a particular way, and they're difficult to actually break out of that.
Creativity and stuff like that.
I guess.
Yep. Steve Jobs, what did he tell me more about him?
I was just talking about that he didn't complete his university studies, he's a dropout.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg didn't either. I'm pretty sure Bill Gates did.
Gates pretty much.
I reckon he finished it, didn't he?
Not sure.
But look, the guy was an entrepreneur from a young age, wasn't he? Yeah. So you know what I mean. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't go through all the schooling and were very creative and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla. Yep.
So back to the subject of, being triggered, and how does that relate to HRV?
Well, being triggered essentially means that something is perceived as a threat, and that individual doesn't have the mind ability to deal with it. So then it creates a sympathetic nervous system activation.
Yep.
Without them being able to deal with it, essentially.
And that makes your heart rate drop.
that puts you into a
variability. Yeah.
variability drops. Yeah, it puts you into a reptilian zone essentially.
Okay, so the thing I don't
but
get.
the thing about the reptilian thing is that if you're a human and a mammal, right, you don't want to be there. You don't feel good being in there.
Especially David Icke, he'd be saying there's reptilians among us right now, right?
I'm saying that. Yeah, well, you'd be right.
He thinks the Queen's a reptile.
So what's something you can do to get out of that?
Well, we can
being triggered. Would that be stoicism?
That's the Stoic philosophy is essentially the message is that.
Why are so many people being triggered right now in our society at this point in time? I mean,
it's a relatively
at the moment
new
it's a huge thing now, because we didn't even know the word triggered years ago. And now there's a lot of people that are triggered, want to be in safe spaces and don't want to get anything contrary to what they believe. Why have people lost tolerance?
Well,
lost a lot less tolerance.
That subject is really a subject of trauma.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, it's a fairly broad in a way, because you could say that say 2001, right, 9/11,
Yep,
was a huge traumatic event.
it was for a lot of people.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
because if you were there and you were around there,
even
right?
if you weren't there, you saw it on TV.
Well, TV's there, and it has a huge effect because it was such a huge.
It was unbelievable. I remember.
Unrelenting coverage throughout the whole world.
It was non-stop.
3 weeks or longer.
It was longer than that, I reckon. But I remember when it
So
happened.
essentially, that is a form of trauma.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
And if
Okay.
you're not aware of that, so that especially young kids, if you have young kids and they're there around you and you're watching that, okay, your state at the time, you feel upset and you feel like traumatized. Okay, that transfers to them as well.
Yep. Okay. So
that
I imagine the GFC would have had a similar effect.
the question I've got though, totally. But the question I've got though,
it's a triggering thing. So essentially, that happens.
But this triggering thing's only,
and then it's a re-triggering.
yes, but the triggering thing's only mainly in Western society. You don't have a lot of people using that word language in the third world and things like that.
That's a good
or
point, yeah.
you look at,
just because they're not using language doesn't mean it's actually not there.
because you look at
it's the trauma is
hundreds
everywhere.
of years ago, peasants they had a lot of trauma, right?
Yes.
Were they triggered?
Well-
did they get triggered? I mean, or did they get over it? Or I'm just curious. You know what I mean? Like,
Of course they
you
get
know,
triggered. It's essentially what you're talking about there is that a person's inability to keep their cool.
Oh yes,
Okay.
yes. So in the
when somebody-
past, there was a lot more of that happening,
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
there? People weren't cool at all. They'd kill each other over anything.
That's the triggering.
Yes, so
I
they
got a
were
gun,
triggered.
right? Somebody triggers me, go bang. And
So like the Wild West, they'd have a
exactly.
duel, and they'd the Three Musketeers.
knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
So
essentially- it's the same thing.
triggering's been happening throughout history. We just got a name for it now.
Yeah, and as I said, you have a technology to spread the trauma throughout the whole world, which is the TV.
Yes, yes.
Talking about 9/11, but again, that happened, and then shortly after there was wars because of it, and there was more of the same.
So that had a ripple
in
effect,
Bali,
obviously, yeah.
the 7/7 in UK,
yeah.
bombings all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot
and it
going
kept
on.
happening, right?
Yeah.
So that's re-triggering.
It's over and over. I mean, it's been pretty
Yeah.
bad.
So
I
over
didn't
and over.
watch TV
and then in
and-
recent years,
yeah.
I mean, if you watch TV, Brussels, Paris, all those terrorist
It's
acts.
non-stop. It's non-stop.
It's non-stop.
It's non-stop.
That's
It
the
really is.
re-triggering. So I hope that answers your question.
It's like
That's
post-traumatic
that's
stress disorder for people.
Yeah,
they're getting
that's what it is.
shelled, but through
well,
the
that's
TV.
the definition of PTSD.
Yeah, so they're getting shelled, but through the TV.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because when people are in a war and they keep having these shells come off,
Well,
they get post-traumatic stress, even if they don't encounter the firefight with themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
so the PTSD is what we're talking about.
so that's what it is, PTSD.
PTSD is essentially the diagnosis of individuals who are unable to break away from the reptilian existence, and that's why they hate it. That's why they hate themselves. That's why they have to drug themselves. They want to escape it. They want to really feel their authentic self again, right?
Okay,
which is being a mammal and being present and not being automatically triggered without any conscious awareness.
Okay, you said the word present, being present.
Yep.
Okay. Let's elaborate,
Also,
because a lot of people wouldn't know.
authentic self as
There's a
well.
lot of people being authentic self, being present. it's an interesting word.
Well,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to explain to
So
people what it
being
is.
present is being here in the now, essentially.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
Yep.
being a mammal, and having your whole brain and everything online, right?
Yep. So having all your facilities online
which-
and having all
exactly
capabilities
right.
is being present. Is that correct?
So yes. So
How do you know if you're not present?
well,
just curious.
you won't necessarily know, depending on your past. Say, for example, you are a young person or a young kid, some trauma happens to you, okay? That essentially translates into a PTSD. And from then on, you're different, okay? And then you become an adult, then you ask that question to an adult, they wouldn't know.
No,
Because they haven't
been present for
experienced
so
that.
long.
Right. However, somebody who has been present for a long time, they've had a traumatic event happen to them, whether it's a car crash or somebody close to them, died, went through extended sickness, and they were very, very upset for a long time, or they've gone through an extremely, extremely stressful divorce or things like that. Right. That essentially is another trauma.
Yep.
Okay. So that's.
So different people.
So sorry, just to finish
Yep.
that. So if they were totally fine before that and had that traumatic effect while they were, an adult, they may not necessarily be able to. They know that something wrong, but the natural response is to work it out in their brain, right?
Yep.
So then they notice that their brain is actually working overtime. They can't stop it. They find that they can't sleep properly after this event. Now, they may not connect the two.
Consciously.
Yeah. They may not connect the two. They just feel like they're not themselves anymore, right? So then the natural response is to try and work it out. Their brain is working overtime. They're trying to work it out. However, that is the natural response. And in order to work it out, you have to go opposite. So going opposite your instinct. Your instinct to do that, but in order to work it out is going opposite your instinct.
And doing
That's the
what?
challenge.
So how would you go opposite?
Well, opposite the instinct is to become more aware of your sensations that bring right, to become more aware. That's the subject of the therapy, which is called somatic experiencing.
Yep. Who invented that?
Peter Levine.
Yep. Is he Australian?
Dr. Peter Levine. I think he's American.
Okay, I thought he was Australian.
Peter
Doesn't
Levine,
matter.
PhD.
Okay, yep. So somatic experience, which is going back into that feeling and going back into kinesthetic.
So let's just talk about this adult that's
Yep.
gone through a recent trauma, right? So the therapy would, the therapist would ask them to think about that event that was traumatic for them, and not necessarily talk about it, but just focus on their sensations in their body, right?
right.
That's going against the instinct, and
Yeah.
it's
Very different.
It's simple, but it's very, very tough, very difficult.
Very powerful. Because I've started reading his book.
Peter Levine.
Yes.
Yep.
And he had a car accident, and he talks
Yep,
about how
that's
he
right,
healed
yep.
himself through that trauma,
Yep.
which I'm still reading, so I haven't
Yep.
got a lot to say about it yet.
Yeah, I've read that book.
Yeah, I need to read it.
Yeah, I read it, and it's a good book to.
But
to
wouldn't
read to
going
understand.
back into that state and that feeling of that traumatic experience, wouldn't that trigger you then, so to speak? You
Well-
going back into that bad.
The problem is not going into it.
Sort of-
See, there's a quote in the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying that says the cause of all pain is avoiding pain.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay.
So would you say you
So you're
almost
avoiding
need
pain.
to like
So-
go back into it and to
Exactly.
get over it?
If you're avoiding it,
Yeah.
it just gets worse.
So avoiding pain is causes all pain. That's amazing. That's very deep.
They're talking about emotional pain.
Yep,
Obviously.
yep.
Right.
Yeah, not physical pain.
yeah.
Avoiding it. You get a hammer. Oh, yeah.
So
I think avoiding physical
so I hope
pain
that answers
is
the
avoiding.
question.
Yeah,
Avoiding
yeah,
it,
absolutely.
avoiding it or running away from it
Yeah.
doesn't get you to where you need to be.
Rob, that's amazing what you said. That quote, the Buddhist monk quote, is
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
mind blowing. And I think because I guess it's hard if
Avoiding
you haven't done a lot of work in this area, it's hard to understand and truly grasp what you're saying, and that saying just nails it.
It is going against your instinct. So the instinct is to run away from pain, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you just ask the question, why would you want to go into it? Doesn't it, what's it going to do?
Your instinct's to run away from emotional pain. Yeah.
So what's it going to do? Is it going to, you don't know, because you assume that it's bad and bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So you have to go against that instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And going against that instinct is the process of somatic experiencing therapy. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily somatic experience, therapy. There's lots of other therapies that attempt to get you there the same way.
Totally.
But just doing it a different way, that's all.
Yeah,
so, Rob, what's your top 3 tips for, I guess, raising your HRV?
That's good.
Well, if your HRV is low, okay, you're going to need to take an inventory of yourself, of your whole life.
Okay, yeah.
So
that might not be a thing you can do immediately, obviously. You've got to take a lot of samples to do that.
I meant inventory in terms of thinking about your stressors. Emotional stresses, physical stresses, whether that's raising kids, whether that issues with your wife or partner, whether that's to do with work, issues with work, too much physical work, whether you're doing any exercise, how much exercise you're doing, right? If that is consistently low, or the food is a big issue as well. We probably didn't talk enough about.
No, we didn't speak about food at all.
So that has an effect. If you've got junk food, has an effect on your physiology.
Totally.
Right? So you have to look at all those issues. And if I was a coach, a person's coach, they'd come to me and they've got a low HRV, and I will be asking questions about all these aspects.
So you work with people in Sydney and coach them through this, don't you?
Yeah. So my experience is with cycling. I used to be
how would people? Oh, sorry, keep going.
I used to be a competitive cyclist.
Yep.
Amateur cyclist in clubs, and so going back when I was a teenager, that was my passion.
You've been doing this for years, haven't you?
Yeah. So cycling, has been my passion from as long as I can remember, and then also psychology has been my passion as long as I can remember, so I'm kind of bringing those two together and teaching people that are into sport, so bringing my all the resources that I have into an individual who wants to get healthier, fitter, and also just in general emotional issues and all that. So you have coaches that are very good at sport because that's all they know, and then there are other therapists that are good at therapy, like you name it. Energetic therapy, somatic experiencing, general gestalt therapy, all those things, but they have no clue about sport.
Yeah, so you've got both sides, which is pretty awesome.
Those two
That's really niche,
together.
isn't it? Okay, so what sort of people? Who'd be your ideal person that you help?
Well, I think the ideal person, I guess, would be people who are stressed at work, who at a point where their fitness is affecting their life in general. They want to improve their emotional health, they want to improve their physical health, and they that's pretty much in general, I guess.
So how can people find you?
Well, I currently, so mostly word of mouth, because I have other businesses that I've been doing until now, but I am transitioning into more of a full-time coaching soon. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. We'll put a link on the show notes.
Great.
Look, this has been fascinating, Rob. We really did a deep dive here, and thank you for sharing your experience with us, which is excellent. We've taught us a lot, and it's amazing how many different connections. And I look forward to talking about stoicism with you, because that's one of my favourite subjects. Awesome. So I love it. That's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to sing us out on a little song. So, do you guys want to count me in?
Okay. I don't know how to count you in.
1, 2, 3. Like that. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
To the beat of my, to the beat of my, to the beat of my heart, I'm thinking about letting it out. I wanna go in, I wanna get out. Been looking around, I finally found the feeling of sound, the feeling of sound, feeling is strange. It's coming right back in my range. Not worried about anything else. I'm waking up to the beat of my heart, the beat of my heart, the beat of my heart, the beat of my heart. It tears us apart to the beat of my heart, the beat of my heart, the beat of my heart. Now I'm back to the start, to the beat of my heart.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
I stuffed up the words in the beginning, but that doesn't matter.
Nobody noticed, I'm sure.
Well, now they did. For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.